I've never really spoken about this at all, really, but there was a big portion of time, and this is probably my biggest regret about that period of losing my hair, which is where I started actually like editing my photographs. And so I'd go onto Photoshop or FaceApp or whatever it was, and I sort of picked the photograph with the best angle, and then I would, because I only had such a light recession at the time, it was very easy for me to just pull it down a little bit and make sure my hairline looked perfect and be like, no one's gonna know, it's fine. So when I was sending photographs across to you actually from that time, it was very hard for me to find photographs from that era that either I hadn't edited or that, because I used to delete so many of them and I got so self-critical about them. It got almost like a point of like addiction or control, where it was sort of, if people were taking a group photograph or I was out in public with friends, I'd be like, oh, let me get it on my phone, and I'd be sort of trying to work out the best angle and all that things. It was the dread of this
Yeah.
person has tagged you in this photograph. I'd be like, no, what's happening? I think stopping that was a big step. It got to the point where I'd lost enough hair for it to not be so easy to do it. And then I kind of had a bit of wake up call, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? It's so damaging to yourself. And on top of that, sharing these pictures on social media is actually damaging for other people. If there's someone I know that's going through a similar thing and they see me in real life and they can see that I've lost some hair, but then they go on my Instagram and it's all perfect hairlines, but it's like that's not good. That's not good for anyone. That was a really detrimental decision that I took when I was 18, 19 and panicking about it, that I really regret now. To start off with, like my brother is 11 years older than me, and he's been bald or losing his hair since he was around my age now. But when I was growing up, I had like really kind of like very thick hair and very kind of, like really had sort of big quiffs on top and all that kind of stuff. And even though people had often said to me growing up, like, oh well, you'll probably end up like your brother, I was like, no, that's fine. No, it's not going to be, that's not going to be me. Like, look at my hair. When I was about 18, I remember one specific day, and I was walking home from college, and my friend who was with me was like, oh, your hair's thinning up the front. And it was kind of at the temples. And I was like, what is it? And then I went home and looked at it. And then, even though it was just only a fraction at the front, that was all I could see. And from that point onwards, I started being sort of quite negative towards it. I got rid of the long hair and shaved my head and stuff, and then went to university. And then throughout that year, I think I noticed that sort of light progression, light recession, which you can probably see in the pictures I sent you, the first ones, were just the temples were going back the slightest bit. And again, I got so in my head about it. I got into a position where I would start getting a lot of comfort from sort of getting a haircut and having that like fresh trim and make sure everything was neat and all that stuff. I didn't like my hair unless I had the haircut. And then when I got a haircut, I'd be like, oh, this is all right. And then 2 weeks later, again, I'd be like, oh no, I hate it. As time went on, I just sort of got less and less joy from my hair, I guess, less and less comfort and reassurance, or less and less. I didn't feel as good about myself when I got that haircut. And then it got to a position where I wasn't even happy with my hair after I got the haircut. And that's sort of where I'm at now. That was when I started looking into sort of hair loss treatments. So minoxidil and SNP and all these different options. Like, what are the routes that I can take? What are these things? The biggest problem I had, or one of the biggest problems I had, was that I could get 50 compliments and that'd be great. And then if I had one negative joke about my hair or anything else, that's the one I'd latch onto. And that's
Yeah.
the one I'd be like, oh no, this is, yeah. I projected it as an insecurity. I didn't project it as like, it is what it is. I'm confident in myself, which, yeah, I sort of just did everything I could to just try and cover it up. And it was so detrimental. Spending a lot longer looking in the mirror and trying to make sure my hair was perfect and stuff. And then even then, I used to have like really bad anxiety about going outside if things like the wind was picking up or if it was raining. I'd be like, oh, this is awful. And I think because I latched on to, because people would make jokes and people would make small comments and whatever else, just like they do. But I think every time they would, I would really latch onto that. And so I spent so much time just trying to avoid the next one. And it was a bad way of thinking, because rather than focusing on the way I like my relationship with my hair, and rather than focusing on it having a healthy sort of relationship and self-confidence, I wasn't working on that at all. I spent so much time just trying to avoid the next comment because I knew it was going to hurt me. I look back at the photographs now and I'm kind of it was such like a light sort of recession at the temples, or a little bit of thinning on the crown. It wasn't that much, and I was beating myself up for it so much unnecessarily. And I think, yeah, it's only now in a position where I've lost a bit more, and I've stopped trying to bother with necessarily covering it up. If I'm having a bad hair day or it's raining outside, I might take a beanie out with me or something. But other than that, I mean, I can't really. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of room to move things about anymore. So I don't really worry about that so much. Looking at all these different options and seeing how expensive everything was, I kind of dug myself a hole of being like, what do I do, or what's going on, and started looking at people's other people's stories, and how they dealt with hair loss, and the option of like, what happens if I just shave my head? What happens if I just get rid of it and stop thinking about it? And then last year for Movember, I shaved my head to not completely, but just to a really short cut, just to think, wonder how it's going to look. And I made a post about sort of my feelings at the time and things. And I was really nervous about it. And I feel like I wasn't quite in the right headspace for it yet, because I was still quite overly critical. But looking back on that shave now, even though it was just a short buzz cut, really, I'm kind of like, actually, that was really good. I was thinking about my hair so much less. I could wake up in the morning, I wouldn't be, every time before a photograph, I wouldn't be spending 5 minutes like sorting out, trying to cover up whatever was, I could go out in the rain and I wouldn't be worried about how it would look. It was great. And I also started having some really honest conversations with my brother about what his experience was like. And he basically said that he'd had all the same feelings and stuff that I had, and that since shaving his head, he's like, yeah, it was so much better. I don't have enough hair on my head to worry about, like, for it to take this much space in my mind, if that makes sense. I was just worrying about it constantly and unnecessarily, and now I feel like I'm at a position now where I've kind of accepted it for what it is with the help of the channel. I'm in a position now where I'm actually looking forward to shaving it and making that next step, really. But I definitely feel like I'm in a position now to where I want to, just get rid of it. Stop thinking about it, move on from it. I've wasted too much time on it now. Viewing my hair as what it is. It's like, it's something that sprouts out the top of my head. It's not who I am. I think, yeah, just sort of taking ownership of that a bit more, and being like, everyone can see what it is. I can see what it is. Do I a keep pretending it's not happening and not fooling anyone, including myself? And having this really negative relationship with my hair, where it's still something I'm thinking about and it's still something I'm holding on to? Or do I B,
This is the before. I'm to get rid of it.
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, yeah. We were doing a kind of joint party for my best friend and my girlfriend. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna bite the bullet. I'm just gonna do the big reveal in front of all of the close friends. I was so nervous about it, actually. As I went to do it, I was like, oh no, hang on. Is this like, and then I did it, and then it was just great. I went to the party, and everyone was like so supportive, and everyone was like, oh dude, this looks sick, and whatever else. And I found that because I wasn't thinking about it at all, like, automatically my confidence was just so much more like there, and I was just getting on with stuff and talking to people and getting in photographs without worrying about it, which I hadn't done in like so long. This is a weird thing, but the moment that I was like, this is what I like, I shaved my head and then got in the shower straight afterwards. And I was used to kind of, even though there'd be no one there, obviously, I was so used to kind of, even in the shower, hating like the idea of my hair being wet, and I used to hate it. And yeah, I got out the shower, and it was just that whole thing where you can pick up the towel and just one swoop and you're done. And I was like, that's great. That's so good. Since then, I've been, because there's this, I left my razor at home one time when I was away from the house for a week, so my hair was kind of growing back a little bit. And even that wasn't too bad, because I don't know, it just kind of gave me ownership of my hair. I feel like now I can just be kind of more flexible, and it's just really nice to have done it and just kind of let go of that kind of like feeling that everything depends on my hair. Like good looks and confidence and all these things all depend on my hair because I know now that they don't. So yeah, it's been so good. I'm so glad I did it.
Feeling more confident, those feelings. Why does it happen like that, do you think?
I think growing up when hair loss isn't really an issue and everyone just kind of your hair is your hair and everyone just kind of compliments you for it or you get compliments here and there and it's like fine and when you're not worrying about it, it's okay to feel confident in who you are. And then when you have this change and it's not a style change necessarily when you start losing your hair. It's just something that's happening to you, and people start to make occasional comments, or you go to your barber and they're like, "Oh, and you have those kind of moments. I think you feel like something's being taken away from you, and because it's not a decision that you're making yourself, you feel like you're losing something, that you're losing a part of you, or you're losing, So I think your confidence almost goes with that. And the act of just kind of shaving it and owning it, I'm not clinging on to anything. I don't need this. If it's bringing me down, I'm better off without it. I think that's an option of it's kind of reclaiming your confidence, and that thing that wasn't a choice now almost kind of becomes a bit of a choice. It's like I've taken ownership of this, and I'm rocking this style, and it's yeah. I think the difference in confidence as well is quite palpable for people around you.
Mm.
So yeah. I think because through my kind of journey of hair loss, I've gone through that kind of unnecessarily low points in terms of my confidence and how I feel about myself. And then coming out of that and having that boost of confidence again and not worrying about it. And you can look back on all of those kind of memories and all of those feelings and kind of go like, it almost puts them into perspective of kind of like, oh, that was so silly. It was some hairs growing out of my head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of lets you let go of that. And yeah, going back to the party as well, that was a really big moment because I think I'd spent so long throughout my kind of time of losing my hair of almost beating myself up of thinking, oh, if I go to like this thing and my hair looks rubbish, people are gonna say about it and people are gonna make a joke about it and all those things. I just wasn't comfortable with that. And going to this party with this kind of new, just the big reveal, and everyone just being kind of like, oh wow, like that's like you seem like so much happier and this looks great and everything else. It was really nice, almost like therapeutic way of just kind of just letting go of it and going, oh, this is great. Like the people accept it. It's not a big deal to them. It was, it just felt really good, I think. And I think that moment kind of because it was kind of everyone saw it and was like, oh, you're bald. And then 5 minutes later, it was done. It was forgotten about, and we were moving on. And it kind of put into perspective that thing of no one's thinking about your hair as much as you are, right? Do you know what I mean? So it was a nice reminder of that, I think, really, which is good.
Is there something along this timeline that stands out to you as something that was really helpful for you that might be helpful for someone else out there?
I actually think in general, it's not necessarily a moment, but it was once I started to talk about my hair loss quite candidly with people, it's sort of with friends and with family and whatever else, and I kind of let them into where I was at with it. That was quite a nice moment because it allowed me to get out of my own head. It allowed me that moment of not just kind of, it was just kind of me, myself, and my hair loss, and everyone else is kind of there just looking at me and whatever. It kind of let me. I almost went into the I got into a habit of almost kind of like making a joke about it or trying to just do anything to avoid a comment. Almost like if I can get a joke in there first, then they can't get one at me and all that kind of stuff. And I constantly viewed it as a negative. And then when I started to speak about it quite candidly and be like, yeah, I'm losing my hair. These are some options I'm considering and whatever else. And I might just shave it. And speaking about it like that was quite therapeutic because that kind of helped put into perspective how much it wasn't that much of a big deal for people. And another thing as well is that even if somebody did have something negative to say or something that didn't feel good to say, nobody said the same thing. And it put that into perspective of like, I've got a whole range of opinions here in terms of what people think about it. And people are, oh, do this. Some people are like, oh no, don't shave it, grow it out and keep it there. Some people are like, yeah, man, shave it. You should have shaved it before. Or it was a whole spectrum of opinions and ideas. It's not a case of everyone's looking at you going, wow, you look incredible. And it's not a case of everyone's looking at you going, you look awful. There's a whole spectrum of people's opinions. And you can factor them in, but you have to live for yourself. And I think it helps put that into perspective for me. And that was the start of my kind of healthier thinking with it and accepting it, of kind of going like, okay, I'm losing my hair, but what do I want? Not what do other people want, what do I want? One other thing as well. So yeah, it's so I had a moment when I first shaved my head and I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, this is weird. This doesn't look, it doesn't look like me for a second. And I got used to it, of course, but after those first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, this doesn't quite look like my face. And it was really good. That was a really good opportunity because I started to think more about my like style and other changes. And I've since then I've been working on sort of, you know, getting a new wardrobe, getting some new bits of jewelry, all those kind of things, and styling myself a little bit differently. So shaving my head has been an opportunity, not just to shave how I look, like sort of facially. It's been an opportunity to kind of tailor my whole style to a new look. And that's been a really nice kind of release as well. And it's kind of, I feel like a bit of a rebrand for yourself, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's been really great. So I think, yeah, just to anyone who's considering shaving their head or is, you know, ruminating about it and things, it's not necessarily just the one change. It's an opportunity to find, you know, this new you and just clear your head of the worries of something as trivial as hair, really.
Thank you so much, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much.